in the morning. Hey, welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the Bearded Cactus. It's just me by myself today. As you can see, Steven's no longer with us. He has been raptured, and it's just us left here on Earth. So I'm just going to keep it going, try and take our minds all off of all of this, and we'll see what comes of this. Really don't know where to go from here. Kind of lost, obviously, because I'm still here, and you are too if you're watching this, and Steven's gone. So it's gonna be just kind of me doing my thing, and gonna be a little weird. We'll keep running until everything goes down. However bad it's gonna be. But speak of the devil. He's here right now. Never mind. We both missed it. Hey guys, welcome back to the Bearded Cactus. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Julian.
And I'm Steven.
All right. Today we're going to get into something probably a little bit heavy. I don't know how heavy it's going to actually be with us, but we're going to be talking about death. And how we deal with death.
Not deaf.
Not deaf. We already know, for you long-time listeners, you already know how we deal with the deaf. And that's straight with a gun. That's it. That's the only way to deal with the deaf.
The deaf.
But we're going to talk about death. And I know we've all experienced death. We've experienced it in different ways. Whether it was somebody really close to us, somebody that we, personally knew, somebody that we kind of knew from a distance or something. We've all dealt with the topic of death. And I've never personally dealt with somebody extremely close to me dying yet. I haven't had to deal with that yet.
Were you there for James Simmons' mom's funeral?
I was. So that was
like the closest?
That was as close as it got to me, other than like my grandmother and my cousin. So that's the closest I've ever had to deal with, death. And I remember the call that I got when James, was telling me, he called me, and then I know she was like on life support and everything, and they knew that she didn't have a whole long way to go. But I remember he gave me a call, and he told me that they were gonna take her off of life support that day.
I miss that guy. I don't know where I haven't heard from him now. I went and did my own thing, and
yeah, I'm
one of those people that I let the gaps happen. Like Chris,
yeah,
I talk to him every now and then.
Yeah,
but it's not like close like we were. Like
right,
I was expecting. Well, like our kids are. I was expecting Chris and I and all of us to be like that, and Russell and our kids and stuff.
Yeah.
But none of our kids know each other besides ours.
Yeah. Well, everybody's moved away too.
I know they left like a bunch of jerks.
Like the last.
Might as well be dead.
Last I heard about Jay, you might as well. We just have a fake funeral for him. Mourn our friendship.
Shit. Go out here to the lake and put a little boat, light it on fire. We salute you, sir. Thank you for your service.
Thanks for the memories. Yeah. But yeah, I think James lives somewhere, maybe somewhere around San Antonio. The last I talked to him, that's where.
Wasn't he in the oil field?
Something like that.
See, that's terrible.
Yeah. See, but I've contacted him. I've had his number forever, and I would text him every now and then and stuff. But there was just he wouldn't continue the conversation or anything. So it was kind of like, well, I guess we've just kind of grew apart and got away from each other or whatever. He's doing his thing. He's got his own life going on. So I understand. But
and probably for me, I think that the whole Russell being a cop, and me being an ex-meth head, ethnical flavor of person,
right.
A POC. White's a color, people. I hear all the controversy in the comments right now.
Oh, no.
Oh, well. I don't care.
No, it's not.
I am a color. Yeah. We're all the same color, just different shades.
Yeah.
That's right.
Bacham. I don't know why I can't ever remember.
Sock'em Bacham.
Sock'em Bacham Vadi. But, yeah, I guess that's what happens. You grow up and you move on. I mean, even when Russell lived, in Palestine, and I did too. Like, we just kind of stopped talking to each other. Yeah. But he was. I keep saying that. He was busy with his life, and he's got like a whole slew of kids, so that's a lot to keep up with.
Are they on number 5 yet? Or is it 4?
Oh, 5 or 4. I think it's 5.
If you got 5, you might as well have 10.
Yep.
Holy crap.
Might as well. No,
thanks.
You might as well just keep going. Why even stop at that point?
The youth pastor at my church, he's like one of 9.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, my dad.
Now that's a modern day. Like in the old days.
In the biblical days.
It was like, you had 8, 9.
Yeah.
It was more common, but now it's not. So if there's like our generation of 9.
Yeah.
They must have listened to our last episode.
I couldn't see financially being able to have 9 kids unless it was just like everything was like stretched thin, and we lived off of the land. If we had to do our own thing and be practically like Amish.
My dad, that's kind of what they were farm people.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what they did. Like they weren't like the top crust farm people. They didn't have like a huge plantation or nothing. But they had acreage, and they would, cotton and beans, whatever the season was, they would make it. And he said that their main thing, because it was easy and there was very inexpensive, but a large quantity, was like cornbread and beans. That was like their main thing.
I guess if you're doing all that and keeping up with the topic, I think a long time ago, it was kind of more beneficial to have a lot more kids.
Yeah.
Just because it's like, well, if it's just me and my wife, it's going to kill me, literally kill me, to have to tend to this land. But if I have 10 kids, then that's...
What's a legal way we can own people and they have to do what we say, but it's not slavery technically?
Technically. They can leave when they get old enough.
Kids.
We can have 10 kids. And so... What woman was it? There was some woman in history, but she had like 19 kids, 14 kids, something like that.
I remember seeing something about that.
But pregnant for a long time.
Yeah.
Like it'd have to be like
one every year.
Yeah,
pretty much.
As soon as 9 months is over, like, all right, let's hit the sack.
That's a long career.
Like you got another one. That's some potent.
Maybe
sperm.
his turn on was a woman that was pregnant and had a baby, and he was like, "Oh, girl, you're speaking my language, that love language."
Merida, when you take off that dress, and I see all them stretch marks.
Oh, girl,
girl, don't lose that baby fat.
It's funny that we immediately go to like, yeah, girl,
yeah, girl, because that's how Jedediah was talking back then.
Yeah.
When I see them there stretch marks you got there, yowza. You make me feel like King Solomon.
Let's go build the temple, girl.
Let's build a temple. I need some more workers. I need some more workers to tend the land.
Let me go tend to yours, girl.
Crops are coming in kind of heavy this year.
Hurry, let's get on
if
this.
You know what I mean. Like,
wink, wink.
Wink, wink. And I think it was a lot more... I don't know how people dealt with death back then.
Yeah.
I know how... I'd have to say it was more common.
I know how Dwight Schrute did it. He would shoot him in the chest with a shotgun to make sure that they were dead. Boom.
All right, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
That's when I leave.
Well, I mean, so they said they had an incident where someone came back alive. They weren't really dead, and they found scratch marks inside.
No, that's happened. That's happened like several times. Like if you look at different things, because they've moved, like had to move grave sites and stuff, and then when they dig everything up and you look inside the coffins, some of them do have like scratch marks or something was going on.
That's crazy.
Well, you have to think, like, okay, say someone went in a coma or something,
they
back
just thought
then.
they were dead.
Yeah, like, oh, they've been out for 3 days. They've got to be dead, and I don't know.
That would be terrible to wake up in a coffin.
Yeah, or maybe you just fall off your horse and they just see like you hit your head, and because there's blood, so they just like, and you're not moving. You know, they try and wake you up, but you don't come to, so they just naturally, instead of being like, all right, check his pulse, you know, they just like, oh no, he's not moving, and they're shaking him, they throw water or whatever, and then they're dead, apparently, so then they have like a funeral, and...
So I think they dealt with death a lot different than we, like back in the day, it was a totally different...
It had to have, because it was, I think they saw it more, and it wasn't just like, if someone was killing you, but it was more natural ways that people died, you know, say of hunger because they didn't have enough crop to make it through, or whether it be the cold or heat or anything like that, or a snake bite because they didn't have, you know, no, what do they call it?
Antivenom?
Antivenom. They didn't have any of that, so or a bear attack because you've got to go hunt and you're out hunting deer and a
panther or whatever's out there.
Yeah, something. I mean, I think it was a lot easier to die. I would say, and I think it was probably a lot more common.
Well, yeah, the internal stuff that you would get sickness from, like what, emphysema or something like.
Yeah,
what was it? They would go to drier
like
climates because like they would move to the west.
Tuberculosis,
maybe
bronchitis.
I don't know.
Something?
But see, they didn't really know what it was, so they thought if they went to a different area that it would help, which it probably did a little bit. I mean, they obviously got that from somewhere.
Yeah.
But it was a totally different ballpark. They had no modern medicine or ways to treat it. It was just like, well, we got to move our families to live.
As you get bit by a rabid animal, and it's like, oh, now you can, you know, rabies has a cure and everything. So, but
isn't it like a bunch of shots in the stomach?
I think,
or at
so.
least it was. I don't know. If
I know
it is now.
It was like you had to
modern
get, like,
medicine. It should be like just a pinch and you're done.
Yeah,
that's just what I think.
Probably, it's probably what it
probably
is.
Depends on if you're foaming at the mouth or not.
So, I think death was a lot. It was a lot easier to die. There was a lot more stuff that could kill you just because, you know, if you are hunting or something and there is a bigger animal, even a pack of wolves or something, you know, and you don't have a gun that has a lot of rounds in it, but you've got to like load it, or you've got a bow and arrow, then, you know, you've got to make your shot count, or you've got to,
or you're dead.
Yeah. So it was kill or be killed.
My earliest memory of dealing with death was I was either in the second or third grade, and my mom's adopted, but that's her parents. She didn't know her real parents up until, you know, a couple of years ago, and she actually got to meet her real mom, but her mom ended up dying not too long after.
Oh, really?
Actually, from California, and then she found out she had like 3 other brothers, and one of them died right before she got to meet them. So, but now we know 2 of them. And actually, for Christmas, we're gonna get to meet one of them. His name is Chris.
Oh yeah,
and he's from Oklahoma or Tennessee, somewhere around there, somewhere that's not Texas.
Yeah.
And he's gonna
Texas.
bring his son.
Yeah.
And their kids and gonna come and meet us for Christmas. So
that'll be your cousins.
Yeah, that I've never met before. So it's kind of going to be a unique Christmas for us.
Weird.
Yeah.
It's neat. It's neat.
Just a few months away, and I'm going to meet family I never even knew I had.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
And so, like, I was in school. My brother was too young to be in school, and my mom's adopted parents were watching us. And my parents had went to Russia. It was for a missions trip.
Russia.
Yeah. So they had a lot of cool experiences about like the dolls back.
Yeah, one inside the other.
Mm-hmm.
Inside
so it was like
other,
actually like from there,
other.
like made there. It was really cool. And
Russian hands made this Russian doll.
Yeah, well, it could have been Chinese baby hands. No one really knows.
Yeah,
but it says on the bottom, made in China. They bought it in Russia.
It's like scratched out. They just put Russia.
Russia. And so some lady in my dad's church comes and picks me up from class early. And I knew that my parents were supposed to be back in town. Like, I think that day was when they were coming in. So I immediately assumed that it was to go see my parents. They came in and, you know, I was excited and all that stuff. So got picked up. And on the way, I noticed I knew where my house was. You know your neighborhood when you pass it.
Yeah, yeah.
And we were up on this road that was going by. It was like a service road next to 79 in Missouri. And I could see down into the little valley thing where our street was, where our house was. And I saw cars there. And we passed where we lived, And then when we passed there, I'm like, where are we going? Then I started asking questions
Yeah.
because I knew we
You're
just
like,
passed up
what?
our house.
Yeah, we didn't. Why are we stopping at my house?
I know there's people there.
Are you kidnapping me?
Like, are you the woman that had the devil in her?
Oh no.
She was related to her though. It was like
really?
her daughter. Yeah.
Oh no.
No. Sorry, it was the man's daughter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, different. She started explaining to me how you would explain to a third grader of someone passing on in the
Right.
most gentle and easy way that she could.
Yeah.
And saying, well, you know how sometimes people go away and they go to be with Jesus. You know, she was trying to soften the blow.
Right.
Totally oblivious to what she was trying to say because my grandfather I still have up in my closet a battery powered. It has the cord to it. It has a little remote where the fire truck would go up like that, and the ladder would extend. It would jack up on the back.
Right.
I don't think it works anymore, but it was one of those old toys that took like D batteries.
Yeah.
Or C, whatever it was.
The batteries.
And I still have it up there. And he taught me how to drive his tractor. He would let me, ride his little lawnmower while I was walking next to him. He would sit me on his lap. And he had a stick shift, a baby blue single cab truck, a little small. It may have been an S10, but it was that size if it wasn't.
Right.
And he would sit me in his lap, and I get to steer. And so every summer I come back to school, I tell people what I did.
Yeah.
I was playing in the sawdust. He had a little wood shop. He would make little wood things, carvings. He would make those little. You ever seen those pistol things where you take a rubber band and with the clothespin and you pop it? He would make those, and they would take it to a place up there that's like Canton here.
Yeah.
And they would sell them. She would paint stuff. He would make it, design it, and all that. And so I would be playing with my toys in the sawdust underneath his bench. So that's how I grew up because my parents didn't live that far from there at that time.
Right.
And so they wanted to get away. Let's go to Grandma and Grandpa's. We'd go and have a blast.
Right.
And they used to have, instead of like the little satellite dishes, for just TV, they used to have these huge dishes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we used to have one of those too.
I would get up in it and sit, and and I would just chill out there with a little breeze, and it was like almost a metal hammock is what it was pretty much. Well, while I was at school, he had grabbed his chest and he had a heart attack. And the doctor said that he was dead before he hit the ground.
Oh, really?
My little brother was there.
Yeah.
And he actually was in the room. They were staying in my parents' room, and he was in the room, and he saw my grandpa grab his chest.
Oh, really?
And fall over. And then my grandma went to revive him. She called 911. She went to revive him. And then she had a heart attack while trying to revive him. She didn't die.
Yeah.
He did. She was never the same. She just went downhill. Of course, usually older people, once their spouse dies, they start going downhill pretty quick. And
even after a heart attack, I mean, it's kind of...
Yeah. Things just weren't the same after that. I got home. I walked in. After that lady took me to her house, I'm walking in my house, and I see another couple, a younger couple from our church that was like a part of the board. And then my mom and dad were just sitting there like sobbing, and I'm like, I was totally numb to it, didn't even have a clue. Didn't realize until later they tried to explain it to me again, but I'm like, no.
Yeah.
I just saw Grandpa.
Yeah.
He was here.
Right.
Like you go into that stage of denial and you don't even know that's 5 steps.
No.
Like I just saw Grandpa, and so and it was a weird situation because my dad and mom, when they were flying into, I think it may have been Kansas City, my dad got this weird knot in his stomach.
Yeah.
And he was like, something's not right, which was weird because they haven't talked to anybody. But I believe that's how the Spirit will help you
kind of get the process going ahead of time. Like.
And they knew something was wrong when they landed and they came out, and there was that younger couple. They were there, standing there waiting to pick them up, and they're just like, "What's going on?"
Yeah. But
that was my first encounter with death, as far as I can remember. But being a pastor's son, there's always funerals,
right? Yeah,
which is really weird.
I'm sure you've had to do like a lot of funerals because I know John Mark, he still does like funerals and stuff like with his dad and everything. Yeah. It's just kind of like, somebody else died, and he's just,
you get kind of numb to it, almost. I mean, it's like, well, that's a part of life, and it is.
It is. I think it's always going to be. We hear such horrific things like on the news. We can hear so many stories about somebody dying or this person got killed and everything. It's kind of like to take it back to like George Floyd, it was kind of like, you're like, dang, that's terrible.
Yeah.
And you hate the situation, and you hate the circumstance, and you hate that it even happened. and then, but it doesn't affect you just because it's not part of your world.
Your little immediate bubble.
You're not in that. So it's not going to affect you the same way. I can understand how people got outraged, and so there was that effect, but they're not going to feel the same as, like, say, his mother or his brother or sister.
And his brother was begging for people to stop doing that stuff in his name.
Right.
Like he would not have wanted this.
Right.
I mean,
I've had to deal, like I said, with James's mom. That was tough, just because I grew up with James.
Yeah.
I was always over at their house, so it was just, which you knew. I mean, we all knew, she had cancer, and we all saw that. And we saw the toll that it took, and everything that happened with all of that. So that one was rough. When my, let's see, like, all my grandparents are gone. Like, I don't have any grandparents left. So, like, I wasn't close at all with my dad's side, just because they live in Mexico. So I only really saw them a handful of times.
Yeah.
So when they passed, I felt more sadness for, like, my dad, because it was like, man, that was his parents, and he lived here, and he on a good year, he would get to go down there for like a week or two.
Yeah.
But there were definitely stretches of times whenever he, 3-4 years would pass and he wouldn't even get to go down there. So that's a lot of time missed. And he never calls or anything down there. So he comes from like a big family, but the dynamics, I guess they're just, they're different, so it's
some families are like this, and then sometimes they're kind of like this, and then some families are like this.
It's just like kind of like all over the place, and it's kind of like one of those things where, all right, you go on out in the world, make a life for yourself, and if we see you again, great. But if we don't, good luck to you.
Yeah.
It's kind of like one of those things. It's like weird. It was just crazy, because that's really that's one of the only times that I ever saw, like, my dad actually, like, cry. Is like, we went down there one year, and then it'd been a while since he had, like, seen him or anything. So when everybody was saying hi, I saw him cry. I was like, whoa, my dad actually loves something. This is crazy.
Thank you, Death. You've done it again.
You've done it again. But this was before they died and everything. So if anything, my dad's dealt with way more death than I even have. Like, both of his parents have died. One of his sisters died. So that was
They were
tragic.
all in Mexico, right?
Yeah. Like, the only person that lives over here that is related to him is his brother. That's it. And they don't even see each other that often either.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I remember growing up, we would go over there and watch baseball games.
Yeah.
I remember that, but other than that, we don't do any family stuff. We would just it's odd. It's real weird, but I guess it is what it is. But all my grandparents are dead. The only one that I really had anything to do with was my grandma on my mom's side. And so I would go and stay summers over there, stay a little bit over there, and help them out whenever they started getting older, or just go over there and stay the week, or a couple weeks throughout the summer and everything.
Yeah.
Always over there for holidays until they got to where they weren't doing it anymore. But I mean, that was really the only grandparents that I had that was close to me. Was just my my grandma Betty. But that's it as far as like she was the only one other than my cousin that was closest to me that has died. With her, it was always like when she got cancer, like she was ate up with it. I mean, it was just like through her whole body. I mean, it was bad. And then I remember the last time that I saw her, it was like right before Mother's Day, and I know it was tough. But I know I still, like, I don't know if people are dead and they can still hear us or anything, like, and I know I've had to deal with that because we were all saying like our goodbyes, and everything, and I didn't want to go in there. That one was tough just because I kind of chickened out to go kind of say like my final goodbyes, just because I don't know. That was the first time I've ever had to deal with death at all.
Yeah, like face to face.
So I was like, I know she's dying. This is going to be the last time that I get to see or say anything to her. And I just kind of like froze, and I didn't go in there. And I was just like, and I've like forever, I was like, oh, I should have just went in there. And then we were out driving one day, and I was like, where are we? And I was like, it was like real familiar. I forgot. Whoa, we went to go pick up one of our dogs that we have now, and I've never heard of this town or wherever we went to go pick her up. And then we were like driving back home, and I was like, this all looks like real familiar. I was like, where am I? Because we passed like this church, and I was like, I think that's the church where like we had like the, you know, the wake and all of that. I was pretty sure. And like I called my aunt, and I was like, where's Grandma buried? Like where? You know, and I found out, and I was like, we're actually like pretty close to where the funeral and everything was. And so I was like, I'm gonna find this cemetery or whatever. And so we're driving around, and I ended up finding it. I was like, hey, my grandma's buried here, and her parents are too. I didn't know them, but I know my grandma is. And so I ended up walking around and finding like her grave, and then I was just like, oh man, it just like hit me all over again.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I'm sorry I didn't say bye or anything to you. I was like, I don't know if she can hear me or not or whatever, but
either way, it's good closure for you.
Yeah, because I was just like, you know, I wish I would have went in there and at least saw you one last time, you know, and told you how much I loved you before. But I was just young, and I just chickened out, and I just couldn't do it. But
yeah, on the subject of James's mom, she was like a mom to us, like sending handmade egg rolls to school with James all the time. Oh my god,
amazing! Yeah, I know. I that's what I miss. I
miss her food.
I miss being in I miss being in that Filipino community and everything.
They're tight knit.
Yeah, because I mean, James would always let me know whenever they would have like a get together and everything at the park or at the church or something, because they would like rent out like the Catholic church or something, and they would do stuff there, and they would dance and everything. And I was like, every year you better let me know. And he was like, I'm gonna let you know. So I was looking forward to that every year. And that's what I missed. I was like, man, I wish James was still here. I gotta get back in with that Filipino community.
I was late to her funeral, and I sat on the back.
Okay.
And actually, I say this. I was late, and James and his woman were even later than me.
Oh, really?
And rushed in and went to the front to sit down. And the biggest impact, not the biggest impact of death, but of her funeral, was that I had Tristan with me, and he was like 3. And he's like, Daddy, why is that woman in that box? And so I had to explain to her. First of all, I went at the angle from explaining who she was to me, because it was important to me.
Right.
She was one of my moms.
Right.
And you remember David Blake?
Yeah.
His mom was one of my moms.
Yeah.
Your mom, and then Russell's mom. So we had all these moms
in
a little commune.
Hello, mother.
Hello, mother. It's weird because we weren't
if your dad dies, I take over.
I step into that role.
I'll be your new stepdad.
You start calling me dad.
We're gonna change your allowance, by the way.
It's now $7.50, so you earn that $14. That's not even minimum wage.
Doesn't matter. Shut up. You're my boy.
Go to your room.
I love you.
I'm older than you.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Look, married to your mom.
Dad. I'm wearing a name tag.
Make sure you knock on the door tonight.
Your dad?
Your dad.
But it was just kind of a big thing to me, because I feel like in that same instance with her, I had the same reserve that I didn't go and say my goodbyes like I should have.
Right.
Because, I mean, it wasn't just like that.
Yeah.
She slowly was.
Yeah, it was like a progressive. And they had her out of town to, I want to say, Houston, maybe.
I don't remember. But I had the opportunity, and as far as my memory serves me, I don't think that I took it, because I didn't want to face losing her. Yeah. Which was so selfish.
Yeah.
And it was me being I guess the lack of a better word, it was a coward's road.
Right.
But I didn't want to face it.
Yeah. No,
because death is like,
I understand.
When I saw my grandma, the grandpa I was talking about, when she finally died, and I went to Arkansas to the funeral, my dad was doing the funeral, and I saw her there, and seeing her in the casket was just, it gives me like this eerie feeling. Like, it's so weird.
Yeah.
It makes me feel weird.
Yeah.
And I don't like it. It like creeps me out a little bit because it's a body, but no one's there. But we're coming to see it, and they call it a wake. And what happens if that happens and it wakes up?
I think that's probably where wake came from. Like I don't know, maybe they had like a thing to, let's make sure they're dead before, I don't know. I haven't looked into it.
I don't know, but it sounds like that would
sounds
be
like a good guess.
And so it was all these like not wanting to say goodbye, and I think that was a big thing too, because when you face something, and you say goodbye, that means you're admitting that it's going to end.
Yeah, it's
and you don't ever want to do that.
Yeah, that's tough. That's
like when my mom was. Oh, I'm sorry.
No. Go ahead.
When my mom got diagnosed with what she had, primary pulmonary hypertension.
Yeah.
And she went to Houston doctors, Dallas doctors, wherever. Doctors from London, it didn't matter.
Yeah.
And they were all saying the same thing, that she was going to die, and she needed a heart and lung transplant.
Right.
Two of the major organs, the biggest organs in your body.
Yeah.
And saying that you need to have both of them transplanted, and it may give you 5 years more. And she only had 3 to 5 years to live or something like that.
Right.
And I was in high school.
Yeah.
When that was told to me.
Yeah.
I'm like, how in the world? I'm not even graduated.
Yeah. Mm.
How am I supposed to tell my mom bye?
Yeah,
like watching
tough.
her try to do laundry, and you could like see a little of her chest, and her chest would just be so like fire red because her heart was beating so fast, just trying to give her the oxygen she needed to her blood to be able to just function like a regular person.
Right.
She would have to wear oxygen. She would wear it to bed. If she would do anything around the house, she would go and sit and put the little tube things in her nose.
Yeah.
And just watching her suffer like that, and not having any answers, and hearing from everybody that death was the ultimate.
Like that was what's going to eventually happen.
Yeah. So
yeah,
it wasn't, at this particular time, it was not something that I could not face.
Right.
I mean, it's my mom.
Yeah. Yeah. You're going to have to.
I'm supposed to be going to college.
Yeah.
The next semester.
Right.
I'm supposed to be doing all these things in my life.
Yeah.
And then
she's not going to be around to see it.
Like how? Like she's not going to be a grandmother.
Yeah.
This isn't the way life is supposed to be. This isn't the way that it's supposed to work out. Like we're supposed to all be old and happy and and having kids and grandkids and great grandkids.
Right.
We're all supposed to stay around forever.
Forever.
Pooping ourselves and spitting up on ourselves. Well, you already did that.
Everybody, don't just spit on myself.
Yeah.
A spittle.
And it's like, it was the exact opposite of what I envisioned my life to be.
Yeah.
And all we're getting told is death, 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 death.
Right.
I'm like, man, God, what is going on? Like, I remember, without getting too emotional, I remember it was a Sunday morning, and we were on the stage, and growing up, I played drums in my dad's church. My dad played keyboard, my mom played bass. So we were like the Partridge Family.
Yeah, y'all were getting it.
And you have Jonathan, the wild card.
Yeah. I don't know what I'm doing here.
Yeah, talk about John.
John.
He was he was like, we put him in, but he wasn't.
He was just kind of like a backup dancer.
Hey,
talk about John.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't turn his mic on. All right. It's all right. It'll be. He's just here for the fun of it.
He's just something pretty to look at. And I remember we were playing a song, and all of a sudden she goes like, and she grabs her chest, and she just like falls against the wall and starts sliding down.
Mm.
And of course, I stop what I'm doing. I run over, and what do you do when your mom grabs her chest?
Yeah.
She's not an old lady.
Yeah.
She's in her 30s or 40s.
40s.
Yeah, I think that's more accurate. She grabbed her chest, started sliding down the wall. They call 911. My dad's freaking out. They start laying hands on her and praying for her. And so that's when it all began. Like I can still see it in my mind, where she just grabbed her chest and just fell, and her face was confused, and she was in like agony.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like if you get hurt outside, you can go like this.
Yeah.
If it's inside, what do?
Yeah.
You can't do anything. It's just like
you can't grab your lungs. Oh, my lungs!
I don't know what to do.
Oh.
And it was my dad. You remember that? When he tripped and cracked his ribs. He was jumping over or walking over a tongue of a trailer, and he fell and smacked flat on the concrete, and he cracked some of his ribs. And the doctor said he just has to heal it.
Yeah.
And so when he would do anything, he'd go, "Oh!" You'd hear, "Oh, oh."
That's what I always think of anytime I do that now. Oh.
Oh. We would make fun of him a lot. But, I mean, long story short, even though I've taken up probably 20 minutes.
It's all right.
But
here for you.
Thanks. the doctors all said death. They said there was no hope. And this is why I'm a believer in God healing. Whether anybody believes it is something that died off with the apostles or that it's not a thing of today or whatever.
Yeah.
Like my mom had holes in, I don't remember what it was, but it was in a valve between the heart and the lungs. Mm-hmm. So it was that gateway.
Right.
And I think they said she had 3 holes, and it was just a wear away, and it was something they could not just repair. Mm. And like my dad had a lot of connections with people from around the world, like missionaries, things like that. And so they would have their churches pray. And long story short, I already said that, but I'm trying to shorten it down, is my mom now is certified scuba diver.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's pretty radical.
She couldn't walk across a room without needing oxygen. It was so bad.
Yeah.
And
now she can breathe underwater.
Now she can, be a mermaid. That was something that was they gave her a list of stuff that if she got a trans, she could never do again.
Do that, yeah.
And that was top of the list because you have pressure. You have to. Right. It's a harder thing to breathe underneath all that pressure.
Yeah.
With the water, and she does it deep sea, like. Certified.
Mariana Trench.
Yeah. And now she's kicking butt and taking names and working out and stuff. And,
nice.
And she had a scare like not too long ago because it was something and it kind of felt a little bit like that.
Right.
But the doctor said they think it was just stress. But the first thing she thought was like, oh no, is it coming back?
Right.
And so she kind of panicked a little bit. But like before she was healed, it was hard to wrap your head around watching someone slowly die that you loved. Like my mom, like I was her favorite. She was mine.
Yeah.
She was my protection from dad.
Yeah.
Most of the time. and she was my hero.
Yeah.
Just to have somebody like that that's so important to you just slowly slip away and you see them like in front of your eyes deteriorating.
Yeah.
And no one's giving you hope. It sucks.
Yeah.
It's a heavy thing to try to deal with something like that, like face to face.
Right.
But I didn't have a choice in that one. I couldn't run or not go in the room.
Yeah.
But I think it was a good thing though.
Yeah.
Because I mean, God has been faithful. But death is such a weird thing. It's like one of those things that we know it's inevitable. We know it's coming.
Yeah. You know it's gonna happen, and even for a believer, it's still like tough. Yeah. Because you're like, oh, I know where they're going. I know what's going to happen, I know what's going to happen right after this. And right after this, as soon as they die, they're we know what's going to happen. As soon as they die that they're going to be a million times better than they are now.
The ultimate healing.
It's just going to be perfect for them. Even if they didn't die of like some illness or something, it's just like they just died of old age or they just died in a car crash, whatever. But regardless of what their situation was or circumstance was here, they're better already. Mm-hmm. And if anything, they feel bad for us because we're still here.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, I wish they could be here with me because this is great. And so there's that aspect of it. And then you have how Jesus dealt with death and stuff too.
This ring belongs to that grandpa.
Oh, yeah.
Did you know that?
No, I didn't know.
Yeah.
I know now.
My mom kept it, and she said like the black onyx was cracked across, so I got it fixed and sized in my finger because obviously I have little hands, or at least little fingers, and I got it resized. And, and my wife says it looks like rich man, old jewelry. Wait, old rich man jewelry is what.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, man,
it's my pinky ring.
I want a pinky ring. It looks like I got some cash stashed away.
But I think it's important, like things like this.
Yep.
That we don't make him an idol, but
Right.
I sometimes think about him because I was so young. He was like my hero. He was a war
Right.
vet.
Yeah,
and he beat my grandma
Right.
and was a drunk.
Yeah.
And then came to God and turned his life around, and then like that's kind of my story. I relived his history.
Yeah.
I didn't beat anybody,
Right.
but I mean, verbally,
Yeah. Verbally
you say
abusive.
stupid things when
Yeah.
you're high, and when you're, the way I treated my parents,
Yeah.
I might as well beat them.
Right.
And so I think stuff like this is really cool. And to me, this was a gift from God to help his legacy and his memory to live on.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think it's important, even though we have a hard time facing the death when it's in our face,
Yeah.
and when it's right there. I thank God for things like this because I remember all the good stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's important. Bottom line, death happens, but we have to embrace
Yeah.
the good memories and let that live on
Yeah.
through us.
Right. Another thing with that too, it's I was talking to the kids about this like a while back, but like they didn't know my grandma or anything before Kelly and I even got together. She had already passed away, so they had never got to meet her or anything. Like from my side of the family, they have never got to meet any of those grandparents, so they don't have any great grandparents on my side of the family. They've only got one on Kelly's side. Her grandma's still alive, and so they've only ever known her or any memories with her. So they'll have that with her. But so what's interesting about that is they'll have memories with her, and so when she dies, they'll probably keep something of hers it's going to mean something to them.
Right.
I've still got I've got a quilt that my grandma gave to like all the grandkids like when she passed, like in her will, because she made quilts and everything. So we all got a quilt, that she made and everything. So I still got that at the house. But when I die, I mean, that quilt's just gonna like go away.
Yeah.
Something's gonna happen to it, because it doesn't have any sentimental value to anyone else other than me, So it's not gonna mean anything to anyone else. So that's gonna be that's a weird thing to think about, because her memory is gonna die. It's the memory of her that I had with her, that's gonna die with me. Any kind of special thing that I had with her, that's going to go with me. So the quilt isn't going to mean anything to anybody else. Yeah. And it's probably either just going to get put in a cupboard somewhere, or it's just going to get lost eventually through time anyways. So that was just like, I was like, man, that's a weird thing.
That's one thing I really like doing is, because I'm a photographer. And so like people asking me to come take their family stuff, because I'm helping pass that, like your blanket or...
Right.
Or a photo of people who may not be, older people
Right.
with their family, that it gives kind of a visual that I think dealing with death and treasuring a memory, and keeping that memory alive is important to pass it on to our kids.
Right.
I know they never met.
Right.
My son never met, but he knows the story of this man.
Yeah.
And I think that's important because one day I hope that maybe I can pass this on to him.
Yeah.
And he never met the guy, but maybe his legacy that is attached to me will then be attached to that, and then it will go down to my son.
It'll mean something to him because it meant so much to you.
Yeah.
That would be a cool thing. That would be really good.
You know what he asked me for like Christmas? And it was really cool. I told Jessie about it. She was like, "Really?" He said, "Can you think maybe for Christmas I can get a little camera?"
Oh, yeah?
I was like, you know what? Let me talk to Santa Claus.
Let me know to Santa.
That was just really cool. That's something that I do
him.
for a living.
Yeah.
He's interested in doing.
Yeah.
And he can make a good career out of it.
Yeah.
If he's not stupid, makes good choices.
Must be nice. None of our kids are into anything that I like, that I'm into.
Dark humor.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, we're
You're passing on the important stuff.
We're both demented, sticking demented. I got it. Yeah, you gotta look on the bright side of the dark side of things.
America.
Yeah, and the only other death that I've ever had to deal with that was close to me was my cousin, and he actually he committed suicide like while Kelly and I were dating.
Wow.
And so that one I would say, other than like my grandma, I mean that one just hit me the hardest just because we were like the same. He was like a year older than me, but growing up with him,
or was he in town?
No.
Oh.
No. He was actually, I want to say he was like out of state. I don't know. He got real bad into drugs and everything, and he just, he went off the deep end there towards the end and everything. I don't know for how long, but I just remember hearing about Justin, and because I would always ask like how Jake and Justin are doing. They're both brothers, so because they're like my favorite cousins. Like, so anytime I would go over to grandma's or anytime we would go to Pittsburgh where they lived, I was like, are we going over to Jake's and Justin? I was always excited to go over there because it was like my only two cousins that I actually had anything to do with, and they were around my age, and we're both boys, and we're both into the same, we're all into the same stuff, like Ninja Turtles and rock music and all this MTV. Yeah, so we could all relate and everything. So I was like, yeah, I always thought they were so cool because they had like Nike high tops and everything. I was like, yeah, man, my cousins, they're the coolest. They're the coolest guys, whatever. So like their parents would let them like bleach their hair, and I was like, oh man, they're so cool. Jake and Justin are so cool.
Yeah.
Just
that's what cool kids did, man.
Cool guys, man. I wish I could go live with them. I bet it would be fun.
I'd have Nike high tops. Yeah. I'd have bleached hair.
I'd be looking great. But yeah,
jean jacket.
I remember Kelly. I guess we were sitting on the couch watching TV. That's what we did a lot before we got married. Before we were just hanging out. And I remember my sister called me, and I was like, I don't know, whatever. I didn't think nothing. But she was like crying. I was like, what's going on? And she was like, she just said, Justin's dead. Justin died. And I was like, what? And it was like a short conversation because I was just like, because she couldn't talk because she was bawling and everything. And I was like, oh my gosh, like and I just like sat outside, and I was just like, what the heck? And then I just like broke down because I was just like, what in the world? Because she didn't know how he died or anything.
Yeah.
Just know at that point, like he's dead. That's all like he's dead. And so I remember getting like all the information like the next day and everything. I might have gotten it that night. I really can't remember. It was like 10 years ago now. So
Ooh.
Yeah. So
there's a guy I worked with when Tristan's mom and I were married then. I was working at Walmart warehouse in Palestine. And there was a guy who worked in order filling with me, and we got really close, and he was the type that would drink, and I was like, no, because I was trying to do better. Right. Tristan's mom and I met that way, and we were trying to stop that. Yeah. The whole back and forth. You remember the Iron Horse? Yeah. Okay. Well, he would like to go and drink and play pool there. Right. So he'd invite me out. So we ended up like becoming really close. Yeah. And hanging out a lot. And I think we moved back in with my parents. We were about to move to Orlando. Mm-hmm. So I quit my job at the warehouse because we were about to move soon. And I come to my parents' house, over there, South Hill. Yeah. With the pool. And I'm walking through the back door. My mom and dad are out there. And he's like, hey, yeah, can we talk for a minute? I'm like, yeah, what's going on? He said, I know you guys were pretty close. I just wanted you to know that Gary got in a wreck and he died. And both of his kids were with him. I don't remember if it was a girl or the boy, but one of them died in the car wreck with him. Mm. I'm like, wow. Like, it just hit me in the face. Like, I was immediately like that numb feeling. Yeah. Where it's like, what do I feel? Yeah.
It's kind of like you prepare yourself for like all kinds, like, you prepare yourself for your day because you know what you're going to probably end up doing. Yeah. You make plans and everything, but then...
I think we just went on a date or something like that.
Oh, yeah?
And we were just coming back, and he's like, oh, by the way, one of your good friends got in a car wreck, and him and one of his kids died, too. Yeah. Like, are you kidding me? Actually, his grandpa was one of the other guys who came and visited me in jail when I got arrested.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He has the church in Palestine. Okay. Brother McShann. I think his name might be Gary, too. I think he was named after his grandpa. But and then all these guilt things because I just started trying to not drink, and I'm like, what if I would have tried harder to get him to stop? Yeah. Like, was he under his dad said he was, and he was coming from his dad and his stepmom's house. Yeah. That night said he wasn't under the influence. I don't know. And so going to the funeral, it was like, man, even at the funeral, I was just like so numb. Yeah. Like I didn't want anybody to talk to me. I didn't want it was so crazy to me.
It's almost kind of like, you don't want anybody to talk to you because you don't even know what to say yourself.
Yeah, no clue.
It's just like,
how do you react?
Like, I could see that because it's just like weird to where you're just like I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't even know right now.
I don't know what to say to their family. I don't know if they say something to me, what do I say? Like,
yeah.
I hugged his grandpa. Didn't realize that him and my dad were really close.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I had no clue. They were fellow ministers in the same town.
Huh.
And then now they're really close. My dad went and preached, at that church. Did revivals for him, I think, every year.
Yeah.
But it was so numbing. I mean, your body does responses to things that,
Right.
we talked about our scars and I passed out.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I was in the middle of a conversation and I passed out. I mean, when you hear this kind of news, like you can't control what your body does.
Yeah, it's
just
weird.
like all of a sudden, it's just like,
It's just, I'm going to stop working for a second. We're going to restart.
I'm shutting down.
Reset button.
This isn't happening.
I'm going down. I'm going down.
Help me. Tell me someone else is alive. Even the scales.
Lisa's alive. Okay.
Trump's
good,
alive.
good.
Trump is president.
I'm alive now. I'm alive.
Thanks, Trump. You've done it again.
You've brought this phoenix out of the ashes.
I think I'm going to wear my Trump hat in the next episode.
Go for
Take
it.
some people off.
Go
Maybe.
for
it. Or maybe a bunch of Trump supporters. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, whatever.
Yeah, death is it's a serious thing, but it's like you can't take it too serious either, or you'll end up like spiraling.
Yeah.
Because some people do, like if you give them bad news, like someone they love,
Yeah.
they spiral.
They don't come out of it.
Because like when I started spiraling my drugs and all that stuff, like somebody I love was taken away from me.
Oh yeah.
I mean, so death is the ultimate taken away.
Yeah.
So I mean that.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Don't go to drugs.
Don't do that. Don't
go to drugs.
Don't go to the drugs.
Get hugs.
It's not the way. That's not going to bring you out of it. It's going to take you to a darker place.
I don't know what you can say on hashtag the bearded cactus. Like, share your death stories.
Hashtag no more death.
Hashtag
no more death.
No drugs, all hugs.
Death to the deaf.
T-shirt.
No death.
No deaf.
I don't know. I don't know. You gotta. It's one of those things. I mean, it's gonna happen eventually. That's the thing. Like, if I live long enough, I'm gonna experience somebody close to me dying, or I'm gonna be the one that dies.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just
one way or another. That's
it's gonna be either somebody's gonna experience me dying, or I'm gonna experience somebody else dying, or both.
Yeah.
If I live long enough,
it's inevitable.
Or whatever.
It's just a part of life, death, which is weird.
Yeah, death is a part of life. So
don't seclude yourself. If you're listening, and you're dealing with death, or someone is sick, and it's gonna happen. That's what you're hearing. Don't just shut everything off.
No,
that's a very, very dangerous place.
If you know somebody's dying, kind of like how I knew my grandma she wasn't going to come out of this, alive. It was just a matter of time.
Yeah.
I mean, I still to this day, I wish I could go back and just say something,
anything, just
anything, even if we weren't, saying like our last goodbyes or whatever, but just seeing her that one last time and having that one last conversation that I was gonna get to have with her before she moved on.
My grandma, when she died, I had totally done my own thing, moved off to Orlando. No. When my grandma died, I was in college at Southwestern. I was actually on my way to Wednesday night church because I was doing. There's a large church up in Grand Prairie or somewhere like that.
Yeah.
And I was helping with the youth group doing worship, and I was headed to that, and it was my grandpa died. My mom's birthday is in October. My grandpa died around my mom's birthday. Her dad, and then her mom died like the day after or before my birthday.
Oh, really?
So they like totally stole other people's celebration times.
That's why I was really mad.
Yeah. Dang it!
Just always stealing the fun, aren't you, Grammy?
And when they called, I was. Because she was in a nursing home type deal.
Yeah.
And death always does this, to me anyways. And the multiple times I've experienced it, it always makes me regret the times I didn't spend with them, or I didn't try to call them enough, or didn't.
Right.
Like I feel guilty about this with my grandparents on my dad's side because both of them are alive.
Yeah.
They're getting older. They're in their 80s, and like I don't feel like I called my grandpa for the first time, and I don't even remember when on his birthday this year. And
Wow.
and
That's a start, though.
yeah, but the thing is, like I shouldn't. Why am I just?
I don't know.
If somebody's not in my line of sight,
Yeah.
I get totally caught up in my own world.
Well, I think that's kind of. I think that's just kind of how we are, because we can only have so many kind of productive relationships in our life. You know, we can only spread ourselves so far. You know, we can only be so close with so many people. If you had 100 friends, you know, you're only going to be able to be close with so many of those people. And if you try to split your time up evenly between those 100, I mean, how close are you
Maybe
really
5.
going to be?
I mean, out of 12 with Jesus, he chose 3.
Yeah. So
I mean,
and with that, I mean, it's just relationships are something that you have to work on. You have to constantly, you know,
like I saw
put
my
into
grandparents
it, and you can't just keep taking out of.
once every year,
Yeah.
or maybe twice. Sometimes in the summer, and then maybe at Christmas time.
Right.
And so all my other cousins and uncles and aunts lived up there next to him.
Yeah.
So they were a lot closer.
Right.
They had that relationship.
Yep.
Like I remember as a kid, you know, going there a lot, but I didn't have that, you know, in my adult life because it gets
Right.
expensive.
Yeah.
To travel.
Yeah.
That much, and then have a vacation for yourself
Right.
as well.
Yeah.
Or you feel like you're imposing because you don't really know these people as well as you should.
Well, even as a kid, I mean, like you said, because where my grandmother lived, I mean, she, you know, my aunt and, you know, cousins and everything, they all lived like around her,
Yeah.
but we lived 2.5 hours away.
Yeah.
And growing up,
We lived 12 hours away.
So
it was ridiculous.
even harder.
It wasn't just like, hey, let's just take a little road trip for the weekend.
Right.
Because my dad was preaching, so he always had to be there for Sunday morning, Sunday night, and Wednesday. So if we took a vacation, he would only miss Wednesdays usually.
Right.
You know, he got to cram everything. So 12 hours driving, that's a day.
Yeah.
12 hours coming back, that's a day. So you really got 5, no? Because you
3 days.
3 days to do
Yeah.
something, and then you're loaded up and leaving again.
Yeah.
So death makes me feel guilty.
Yeah.
Because
I think it can, because for sure there's...
But I think it's a healthy guilt.
Yeah, because it's kind of like, man, you know...
I need to try more.
You need to try harder. And it's like, okay, that person's gone. I can't get that time back. I'm not going to be able to get that time back no matter how guilty or bad I feel, no matter how much I beat myself up or whatever. That's why I think for me, even if, like, logically in my mind, like, I don't think I would let myself slip into like a depression to where I got like hooked, you know, where I became like an alcoholic or got on drugs, because I can see it for what it is and saying, okay, doing all of that, no matter how drunk I get, I'm not going to be able to go back.
Yeah.
You know, God's not going to just look at me through the span of history, and I'm going to be the one that he allows to go back or brings them back into my life or something. I'm not going to be the one. People way holier than I'll ever be, and he didn't give them that opportunity. He's not going to give it to me.
I'm down here, and those guys are way up here.
They still didn't even get it. So I'm way out of the
Although
running.
the guy that was thrown on Elisha's bones came back.
That's true.
Which is crazy. If you bring somebody back from death after you're dead.
That's why it's got to be, it had to have been so, I know Lazarus had to be so ticked off. I know he had to have been. He's probably like the most angry person in history. He was probably
so sour after that. Like, get away from me.
I don't even want to talk to anybody. I'm going to starve myself to death.
I had it made, and you idiots.
3 days. I was there. It was probably like in the middle of him throwing like a baseball, and then he's just like, whoop. And he's like, oh, what the, hey.
I was having the game of my life.
What in the world? Like I was
finally got to play catch with my dad.
Yeah, it was amazing. You remember our dad, right? No, you don't, because he died before you were born. But I knew him. Yeah, I would be. I think that's probably why Jesus was crying, because they were like so like
he's gonna be so mad.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, Lazarus. I'm so sorry. Listen, it wasn't me. They wouldn't shut up, though. They kept crying, and they said, if you were here, he wouldn't have died. They were guilt-tripping me super bad.
You know how I love to please people.
I felt bad. I felt really bad. So, but don't worry. You're going back.
Yeah.
Just not as soon. Not as soon as you wanted.
It's going to be a few more years.
Yeah. I mean, I had to do it. I had to. It's all part of the plan. It's all part of the plan. Yeah. We were telling you while you were there.
This is going to be down in the book one day. You're going to be famous, all right? Just trust me. It's better that you came back. You're going to be famous.
I wonder if they told him while he was there.
You got to be legendary, Lazarus. You got to be legendary.
You're going to be great. You're going to do great things. You're going to go to heaven. You're going to eat some pie. You're going to come back. You're going to die again. It's going to be great. Who gets to die twice? You do.
Hey. You're welcome.
You got to live again. How's that?
Did it ever say how he died?
No, I don't think so.
Man,
it may have, but I don't think it did.
What if it was like a gruesome death and then he's got to do it all over again?
Look, they're probably like trying to get it.
I promise the second time I'll make it as easy as possible.
I know getting your head chewed by a bear was probably not the easiest way to go, especially being chewed for 3 hours. Yeah. I'm sorry, but this time you're just going to drown.
Yeah.
Still painful.
It's peaceful.
Yeah, it's peaceful. It's a peaceful death. Nobody will be around.
Haven't you ever seen those movies where it's like peaceful and they just drift out in the sea?
You'll be by yourself, all serene and everything, and one day you're just going to be out on your boat and you're going to slip. And you're just going to, you're dead. Hey. And then you're back here. What's even crazier is as soon as you come back, better think quick because that ball is coming right at your face again. So you better, we're gonna pick up right where we left off.
Outside of time and space.
It doesn't matter. Yeah. Nobody even knows. Like your dad's not even gonna notice you're gone.
It was like 1 year later when he died again.
I wonder how long.
Are you kidding me?
I wonder how long he lived after that, though.
Know. Or did he never die?
Ooh,
it's not recorded.
It's not. What was what was Trent saying to me? He was talking to me like on the way up here. He was saying something, but then he was like, "Well, because we were talking about like dragons and stuff," and he's like, "Well, Dad, I mean, you don't know. I mean, maybe there's some predators that we don't know about, like on some islands that we've never found."
Like Jurassic Park?
That's what I'm thinking. I'm like, okay. And he's like, but I'm like, okay, but how did they get there? He's like, well, God put them there. I was like, well, you can't just do that for everything. I was like, because if that's the case, we'd be like, well, maybe there's just like invisible antelope running around, because that's what God wants to do.
You don't know.
You don't know.
You've never seen them.
You can't prove me wrong, can you?
There is a big argument though. If there was some sort of something, maybe not what people think, but they find one bone and they build a whole body.
Yeah, they've done that before.
Like, okay, bro.
Yeah.
Nice try.
What if it was just the one dinosaur with like one big leg? It's like, oh gosh. And that's why he's dead, because he can't run from anything. So he's got this gigantic leg. That's why they call him Littlefoot. And he's got these big feet.
Well, they were talking about the T-Rex probably was a herbivore instead of a carnivore. And I'm like, okay, all these years and you say he was like a meat eater, like Jurassic Park is a lie now? Whatever, guys.
It was like a comedian, Nate Bargatze. He was talking about, he's like, I don't believe in science. I checked out of that. And, he's being silly. He was talking about, like, the reason I don't believe in science, I'm paraphrasing here because he delivers it a lot better than I do. It's talking about scientists talk about like the age of a beetle, but then they'll come back like a year later and they'll say, oh no, you know how we said it was like 60 million years old? Well, it's really like 3 billion years old. And he's like, I guarantee like nobody got fired for that mistake.
Yeah.
And he's like, is that really the age, or do you just know that I don't know how to figure that out? So,
pretty much.
So you can pretty much just, he's like, I feel that's like a test that they give like new scientists. Here, just go figure out.
It's about 1 trillion years old.
Go figure out how old this beetle is. And
times
he's like,
90.
Just put a number in. That's what I did. So
scared that they won't know.
Yeah, what are they going to prove us wrong? They don't have access to our equipment.
These are all a bunch of stupid regular people. They don't have a clue. So let us know how you deal with death.
Oh,
Hashtag the bearded cactus.
How do you deal with death? How have you had to cope with death in your own life? Not of your own life, but in your own life.
Yeah, you can find us on Facebook. We have a fan page. Any major platform you listen, YouTube. We also put our videos on there. If you're watching, thanks for watching and tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell notification, and leave a comment.
Down below.
Boom. You can go to our website, thebeardedcactus.com, and from there you can click podcast to see every single episode we put out every week. And you just click at YouTube. It'll take you right to our page.
That's right.
Once again, thanks for stopping by.
Yeah.
I'm Steven.
And I'm Julian.
See ya.
Later.